Hello, welcome to the live stream. The irony of talking about how getting off social media could impact your spending on a YouTube channel is not lost on me. But that is the topic for today. It is great to have you all here. I am feeling like a human who can make plans again now that the Olympics are done. Although the Paralympics are about to start up again in like another 2 weeks. And the Paralympics are always great, but I know almost nothing about any of the events. So it's less of a full-time commitment like writing and on figure skating and watching figure skating, which actually meant that I watched very few of the other events during the Olympics. But it is great to have you all here. I wore this shirt today because I absolutely found out about this company and bought this shirt because of social media. So I thought it was fair to wear it on this. And I got influenced by essentially Shopify's retargeting into getting this because I had ShopCash. Shopify is like the platform that almost all online websites, including mine, use now. This is not sponsored, just to be clear. I don't think they would like what I'm about to say. But Shopify for a while was doing this thing called ShopCash, which essentially, if you checked out in small businesses that use Shopify, which isn't even just small businesses now, it's like the main e-commerce platform on the internet, I would say. Then you would like earn ShopCash and then you could spend it, and you could spend it on other stores. It was a little bit of a confusing premise. They do still technically have it, but you have to shop within the Shopify app now, which is not what I'm normally going to do. But there was a brief period there where it was the Wild West, and I used ShopCash credits to buy this shirt off using ShopCash in the Shopify app. And I feel like that is a perfect encapsulation of what we're going to talk about today, which is how getting rid of social media can make a really positive impact on your budget. So I thought we would talk a little bit about the ways in which social media can worsen your budget. And it isn't all directly just tied to spending and advertising, although I do think that is a big factor in it. And I think people discount it because of how used to advertising with our personal data we are these days. Like, we just accept it as a matter of a fact, even though we thought it was like super creepy maybe 10, 15 years ago to have things be exactly targeted to our niche. You know, we thought it was weird when we would move to a new place and then suddenly you would start getting suggested items of, the kinds of mops and cleaning products that you buy when you move into a new place. And now we've just accepted that to be true because we have so much data about ourselves online, and, targeted programmatic ads are just the way of the world now. Even if you do take steps to protect your online data, there are still cookies of you everywhere, right? Like, these cookies are apps in most websites that you interact with, but they can get particularly rampant on social media websites. And so you're acting with these algorithmic pieces of content and then moving on from that to doing other things on the internet that you need to do. You are just followed by all of that information that you have handed them about your interests and what you linger on and where your eyes follow on the screen. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about that. I also want to talk a little bit about some of the gaming mechanics that exist out there in the world of, hold on. I see that some people are here and chatting, but they're not showing up in my view right now. So, okay, that's popped up on the screen, but for some reason I can't see the chats yet. Maybe they're just taking a bit of a minute, so we will have to see. Fuzzbubble says clearing the chat backlog. You probably saw me doing my test. It's not so much chatting it. Okay, there we go. Now it's popped up. No, that you probably saw me doing a test during the very beginning, which is whatever is kind of on there. Hello, David. Lovely to see you. I apparently my chat interface is being a little weird right now, but so I want to talk a little bit about that. And this was inspired by the fact that I took all social media off my phone with the exception of the YouTube app, and I'll come back around to that in late summer last year. And I only would essentially put the apps back on my phone if I needed to post something. So it happened pretty rarely, like once every couple months, I would want to post like an Instagram reel or something. And it was challenging to post these things from their website. I also was not logged into any of these applications on my personal computer. So I could use the social media on my desktop, but I'd have to go through the whole rigmarole of two-factor authentication and logging in. And I found, which is backed up by science, I would use social media as a kind of a rote activity, something where your brain needs a little break. And so you want to do something that that's moderately pleasurable, might be very pleasurable, right? You may get a big win. You might find the perfect reel that makes you laugh, or the cutest cat, or whatever it might be. But you want something that's like very low effort for your brain to take a little break. Rote tasks, like bits of rote tasks, are actually really important for human creativity and brain development. We need a mix of those with like hard thinking tasks. And anybody who's done like significant studying or has a job where they do a lot of big brain thinking work, you know that there is a limit on how long you can do that before you need to take some sort of break. And those rote tasks can be things like washing the dishes, or knitting, or, playing Candy Crush on your phone, where you're getting a little bit of pleasure from the activity, but mainly your brain is off chopping vegetables, peeling potatoes, any of those things. That's actually really important for the variety when it comes to our brains. And I found that I would use social media mostly as a rote activity to scroll on, to kind of be like, oh, will there be anything interesting on here? And I replaced it with other activities, and that was actually extremely easy. And what I found when it was on desktop and I was logged out, was that the work that it took to actually log in, I would already lose my interest in doing that rote task. Now, I still did maintain my accounts, and there's a couple of reasons I still maintain my accounts. I had been fairly inactive on Twitter and Blue Sky for years at this point, essentially since Elon Musk bought Twitter, and then Blue Sky I just never really found it to be. I didn't replace the community that I had on Twitter on Blue Sky. And my link with my own personal website was broken for those, and I was like, don't want to deal with this. Instagram had become so video forward that I was struggling more and more to post the kinds of things that I wanted to post on there. And it wasn't making me feel good anymore. And that is what the science has kind of backed it up, which is that a lot of people feel worse after scrolling on social media. This thing that was meant to connect us and meant to, facilitate relationships between people, and usually people that we already had relationships with, is kind of the initial idea of Facebook, right? Has now turned into a thing that makes us feel worse. There's been some really interesting studies that have looked at people that do not have disordered eating or body dysmorphia, and they show them kind of 8 minutes, just 8 minutes of different kind of collection of feeds. So, one of them will be very neutral content, maybe not even that interesting, how to parallel park, and informational kind of, videos. And then the other one will show them ones that are like fitness inspiration, or, maybe things around like meal planning and maybe some kind of disordered eating content. And they're showing them to people that do not have patterns of disordered eating. And after just 8 minutes of that content, people felt drastically worse about their body and their own perception of their habits. And that really shows you how little this dose can take. And I think most of us, if we use algorithmic social media, which at this point, almost all of it is algorithmic, right? So if you're used to TikTok or Instagram, any of that, you're used to the idea that like maybe one day you get a new style of content and you engage with it, and then suddenly your whole feed is flooded with that, and you start getting a lot more, and it takes you down this rabbit hole. That is one of the ways in which I think it's really scary what social media has done to both spending, like our own kind of mental health around these things, but also our spending habits. And the reason why this can affect your spending habits is, as someone who likes to heavily research purchases, I have fallen into the trap so many times of like, I need X. Like, let's use an example, laundry detergent. I need laundry detergent. And, they stopped making the one that I was purchasing, and now I need to find a new brand of laundry detergent. Prior to having access to social media, I would have just gone to the store I normally go and be like, all right, what is a reasonable price and doesn't have fragrances and looks like it'll be fine for my clothes? That's the one I'm buying. That's it. And I move on with my life, right? Now, this is a great example of a purchase where you will be able to find probably a very opinionated subreddit that all they care about is laundry detergent. And they will have their own lingo, and they'll get you in deep. And then suddenly you're buying laundry detergent from some niche indie business across the country that is only the best laundry detergent, or you're buying a luxury laundry detergent or whatever. As much as it sounds silly to say this with regards to laundry detergent, I have, and I know many people have, you've gone down this web before. And it starts because you want the value of having the access to all of these other people in the country, in your state, in the world, and access to their recommendations and their experience. And so that you don't have to go out and make that mistake, right? Another example that was very much a real example in my life was like trying to buy a new bra. And I found a bra that fits subreddit, and they have graphs and language, and you're upside down, like measuring your boobs hanging and then measuring your boobs lying down, and all of this to just find a bra that fits. And then you're looking at charts that compare the European sizes versus the UK size versus the Italian sizes. And you're like deep in this, and you realize that like you probably what in the end what I should have just gone to Ross Outlet and just bought something at Ross that fits, right? And all of these exist because there is a real need, especially like people that have hard to fit sizes or larger cup sizes. They needed a community of people that would give them feedback on this. But you end up in this like level of groupthink and over research that can kind of drive this. And then what also happens when you start hanging out on these subreddits or looking up TikToks or looking up YouTube videos with reviews of these things is that suddenly you start getting more and more ads for them and for their competitors and for things you didn't even know were a thing before. And it can really drive a lot of these purchase decisions. I've seen a lot of feedback that like social media has sucked all of the fun out of having hobbies these days. And some of it is like this expectation that your hobby is aesthetic, or that you're doing your hobby and you have to turn it into a side hustle. But a lot of it has to do with like, you have access to all of these people that are at a much higher level than you, where if you were learning to knit, before there was access to YouTube tutorials or TikTok communities, you would probably pick up one or two things, maybe go to a knitting store if you had one, learn from your grandma, whatever it might be, and you would get good at what you had access to and with the tools that you had provided before you would ever go out and research and try to move up into kind of the next tier of supply purchases, right? Like this happens with planners all the time where someone wants to buy like one planner and then they discover the planner community or the journaling community and suddenly they're ordering sticker subscription kits and they have to get fountain pens from Japan and you end up in this slippery slope when you're not even engaging with the things that you're getting because you are purchasing. And when I went off social media, I found that constant kind of background noise of I could be doing this better for my planning, for my journaling, for skating is a really great example, which is like there was no social media when I was a competitive figure skater, and there was no way to see videos of people at other rinks. The only way you would see people at other rinks is if you saw them at competition. And now there is very much like this culture of you can see other people and develop skills. And it's so cool. The community that has sprung up online of adult skaters around the world and tutorials, and people can learn moves from YouTube and you can study yourself by videotaping yourself in a way that was like barely accessible when I was a competitive figure skater. But the flip side of that is people get exposed to people at a much higher and deeper level into their hobby early. And it means that there is this pressure to spend money, to level up. You are suddenly overwhelmed with the amount of information of what you can do with your hobby, how you can perform your hobby. And you start to think of it as though it is the best version of the hobby is the one that you are doing to perform it for other people. And that also means that the type of content that you're consuming when you're thinking about getting into a hobby, say making sourdough, and you're like, man, this is going to save me money. This is a good like hobby. It's a very practical hobby. And you start consuming sourdough content. The people that are making that content, the content creators in the sourdough starter bread making niche, those people are doing it in order to make the content for the internet, right? Like they are producing content for you to consume. That level is already far beyond what you would be doing as a beginner person that is just trying to make some sourdough for their house. And there is this tendency to judge your standards, like your taste is here, no pun intended, like your taste of what you want to do, whether it be with your art, with your woodworking, with whatever it is up here, and your skill level is here, but you're consuming content of people that have the skill up here, and you're thinking, oh, well, if I just buy the items, I can get to this level, right? And it is important to remember that the companies the mega corporations that run these social media platforms, their whole goal is to get you to spend as long as possible on these platforms so that they can deliver you more ads. And those ads are going to be optimized to give you the kind of intermittent reward system that makes you feel pressured into spending money. And it wasn't until I got off and I stopped consuming pretty much functionally any content about planners, stickers, skating, fashion, interior design in a passive way. If I was going to go and watch a plan with me video, I was choosing to do it because I was sitting down with my own planner and I wanted to have it on the background. Or interior design stuff, it was intentionally like we were sitting down, we were watching this thing. Versus doing it at this rote task where I'm constantly being served random intermittent information about these things, and they're gathering this information about me and then pushing it forward. And suddenly I was not passively away. I was not passively like aware of things that were related to consumerism. Because remember, in the end, it's so like this is a double-edged sword, because there's so many cool things about social media. Like, I think YouTube is one of the cool, this is why I'm still here, like 19 and a half years in to having this YouTube channel. The reason I'm still here is because I think that this is a really exceptionally cool community that has been built up. And it's so cool what social media has done for so many home-based businesses in like the planner and stationery niches, where, you know, most of the stuff that I have are really small businesses that only exist because of the power of social media. Most of the stickers and washi tape and, you know, are usually stay-at-home parents that are able to facilitate having a business that either is their primary or secondary income in their household because of social media. But on the flip side, I am always being sold to, even when I'm being passively sold to, right? When you look at, I had a second planner Instagram so that I could kind of keep it as a feed that was like only planners and journaling stuff. But then whenever I went onto that, I suddenly became aware of release dates. I suddenly started to see new styles. I saw everybody start to get really into plotter notebooks. You know, they were not in any way interesting in any way. But it was exactly the kind of thing where I was like, oh, now suddenly there's this, this large scale move towards these plotter notebooks. And it was like, because one influencer had gotten a job working for the company that made plotter notebooks. And then suddenly I started seeing them everywhere on my feed. And I started to question, do I want to be into plotter notebooks? And the answer is no. I have a whole cabinet full of notebooks that are not finished. All right. I don't need any more types of notebooks. You know, you start to see language that pops up around this hobby spending that didn't exist before. This like de-stash, where people start having so many things that they're not using that they are getting rid of their stash, or you know, they're kind of pushing forward. They're so into particular hobbies that they then are in groups that are just for the buying and selling of that hobby gear. I'm not saying don't have hobbies. I think hobbies are important. I do think that you will notice that you are more satisfied with your hobbies if you are not actively engaging with social media about your hobbies. And I have noticed that as well when it comes to my own, like, skating is probably one of the hobbies that I spend the most time and money on. And yoga, I would say, is one of the other ones. And I do those things most of the time without my phone. And it means that I'm in it. I am engaged in it. And you know what I never want to do? Start consuming yoga content from people I don't know. And that, because I know I'm immediately start going to identify things that I want to do and skills that I want to learn. And I will get caught in a comparison trap over what I feel like I should or shouldn't do. And it is just one of those things where you have to figure out where your own personal line is. If you have not disengaged from social media for some short period of time, 3 days, a week. Like if you have not actually deleted all of the social media apps that you use off of your phone, logged out on your other devices, and gone for some period of days without them, you should try it. The thing that was really interesting to me, I had to put Instagram back on my phone several times over the past couple weeks because I was reporting on the Olympics, and so much of what the athletes were posting was on Instagram or was on TikTok. And TikTok is like functionally useless on desktop, and Instagram is also a little annoyingly useless. I also was creating content that was getting posted on Instagram by my National Public Radio and Oregon Public Broadcasting, and it took just one day of having, a reel that was getting, in the hundreds of thousands of views for me to start feeling again that gambling like sensation that social media gives you, which is like, oh, I want to check it and see if there's more comments. I want to see if there's more likes. I want to see if there's things I can respond to. And I had gotten out of that. I'd actually forgotten that I had completely lost that like notification craze because I had disconnected that feedback cycle in my brain over not having them on my phone for this long. And I still had to use them at work on desktop because, often I will have to communicate with sources or check Instagram or Twitter for fire department or sheriff updates or whatever. But desktop is such a different experience than the constant scrolling that uses it as a rote activity. And what was interesting to me was having to put it back onto my phone so that things could be like reposted onto stories and then I could check stuff more functionally, meant that I started getting targeted ads again. Because what was happening was, because I was using it on desktop and on my work desktop, where I have a browser with like my, all of my cookies are fairly locked down and everything's on authentication, I don't get useful ads on Instagram on desktop and on TikTok. As soon as I was re-downloading it, even though I was only keeping it on my phone for like an hour or two at a time because I would have to complete some task and like check into something, I found that I started getting more targeted ads and I started spending time with those ads. And I didn't even realize I was doing it at first. I would be like, oh, this is an interesting brand of leggings. Or like, oh, I didn't know about this deal at this brand. And I wasn't actively buying things, but damn was I aware of aware of sales all of a sudden. And a lot of those are fake sales anyway, because that is what social media like retargeting is about, is creating this sense of false urgency and getting you to buy things. I feel like I've been going on a bit of a lecture, and so I should probably take a break and maybe eat a donut. We have 2 donuts here. But my thing is, myself, like many other people, we have to have social media for work to some extent. I would recommend, if you do not currently do it, find at least one day where you can delete the apps. A non-work day, or, if you observe Shabbos, like, powering down, not using your phone for that day, try it out and see what happens. Because we have seen this sort of like, you get into this habit of this kind of gambling response. And a lot of the behaviors that social media has created and the thought patterns that social media has created for us, this feeling that we have shorter attention spans, this feeling that we're having trouble self-regulating, the heightened, alienation and loneliness that is happening, the so-called loneliness epidemic, and a lot of these like depression and anxiety, especially that's happening in younger people, but just generally that's happening. A lot of it can be linked to the ways in which social media is causing us to be regulated in a way that optimizes for them making money. They want you to have shorter attention spans. They want you to speed through things. They want you to stay on the app and be looking for rewards by giving you those kind of intermittent rewards on these algorithmic, gambling wheels that we're all on this social media. All of these behaviors have been linked way before we would do social media studies. When we did mental health, we still do, but like mental health and personal finance studies related to attention spans, impulsivity, gambling behaviors, depression, and anxiety, find that all of those things we are now seeing links to social media use to are linked to overspending. They're linked to financial instability. Depression and anxiety are linked to financial instability. Shorter attention spans and impulsivity are linked to overspending. We have the data to show, that if it is not causation, there is certainly levels of correlation here around social media use. And I think one of the things for me was that I didn't feel like, most of the time I did not feel like I had like a quote unquote problematic social media use. But then I would something would throw off in my routine, or I would be overwhelmed by the state of the world or work, and I would be seeking that sort of numbing sensation. And social media was very good at providing that. Like, oh, I'm just going to look at pretty planner streams, or, oh, I just want to go look at cute outfits or something. And then suddenly hours later, I'm looking at people, cleaning out their washing machines or whatever on TikTok. And now that TikTok is essentially a QVC, it's just a shopping app, it has really highlighted for me how much it becomes impossible to trust your own perception of social media unless you do something to interrupt the current patterns that you have. I love that I get ads that are mistargeted because of the time I spend on this live stream. I'm getting Pros hair care just below the video window. By the way, everybody talking about getting ads on this live stream. One, feel free to skip. Two, I just got you have to get to $100 before YouTube will pay you. And I make so little money off this YouTube channel that I essentially get my $100 check around once a year. That's like a whole year's worth of ads on live streams and on YouTube, and money from people that I pay for premium, so I don't get ads, but then some of my premium money goes to creators based on how much time I spend on them. Anyway, I just got $103 a couple days ago from YouTube, so that's probably my annual YouTube there, so thanks y'all. I don't even buy premium here. I'm saving money. See, this is the thing. Every time I get YouTube ads, if I'm logged out at work and so I'm not on my premium, I'm like, oh my God, YouTube ads are terrible. So thank you all I have had premium for many years and I have no regrets, but it is a business expense for me. I know I cannot YouTube without premium. I don't get it. All right, we have 2 donuts, you all, so I'm going to show you the donuts that we've got. This one is super cute. I hope I'm going to like it. It is a red velvet old-fashioned with vegan cream cheese frosting and then little heart sprinkles. I mean, it's just adorable. And then the other one we have is an apricot rose. And this one just has apricot glaze. It's a raised donut, and then it has dried roses on it. I think we're gonna try the red velvet one first. That's my plan. I think even though it's chocolate, I think I'm gonna like it because it's an old fashioned. So that usually isn't too chocolatey for me. David, maybe you just have enough privacy that they haven't figured out your demographic for the ads. Ooh. I hear the pitter patter of taxes. I like how Aaron now just watches from another floor and then races down when there's a donut.
Very cat-like behavior.
You can really see this, like, it's red on the inside. It's quite good. I actually really like it. It's not too chocolatey at all. David, you should see ads for keyboards caps, obviously. What other things should you see ads for? I feel like keyboard caps is the thing where you spend money, spend your discretionary income. But also, like, I don't know. I feel like you bought a lot of stuff from, like, IKEA lately. No indie web ads. I don't even, Cheryl says, I don't even know what the ads are. I have a natural filter for ads. I love the idea that you don't know what the ads you're getting are.
What is this supposed to be?
It's red velvet. And then the top is a cream cheese frosting with heart sprinkles. I don't know if I have any improvements that should be made on this. Five out of 5. I think it's a 5 out of 5. Are you just hoping you're going to get another bite if you stay here? You're just really learning from the cats. What are you doing? There's Miss Kugel there. Most of my recent IKEA purchases got lost in the flood. Oh no! I'm assuming you're snowed in right now. Unless you're out of the country.
Is she looking at the neighbor dog?
Yeah. Did you see the cat behind the curtain? She's doing some observation. It's very cute. All right. Let's fill in this. 5 out of 5. That was excellent. I don't really understand what red velvet is, and I know that we've discussed it previously on the live stream, and then I forgot. My spouse asked me about the ads, and I'm like, what are you talking about? That might say something about your attention span being ruined by ads. The thing that's interesting to me is recently I've needed to research some purchases where I went looking for, you know, social media information about purchases, and they were like, you know, large brands. So I knew that there was going to be content about it. And I ended up being like, oh man, TikTok is probably where this is a clothing purchase, and TikTok is probably going to have the most interesting content on this. Now with TikTok Shop, it never really feels like you can trust any recommendations on TikTok anymore. Because everybody ends up linking stuff on there, and you just never really feel like you're getting a real view into it, at least for me, if it's linked on TikTok Shop. Not snow, the contractors nailed the base molding through the pipe that feeds the radiator. I remember you saying that, but aren't you snowed in now? I thought you're snowed in now. Wasn't there like 20 inches of snow there? Kugel is now in the other Oh, my rear camera is broken. All right. Well, Google is currently evaluating other windows, internal windows. What are you doing? I know. I'm just always suspicious. Well, suspicious like Google, who is currently inspecting everything in this office. What are you doing, ma'am? She's really got a lot of evaluation. Driving to work at 6:30 this morning was unfun. Do you also have a lot of snow? I'm just avoiding going out. Well, that's a way to. But are you in the flooded unit or the not flooded unit? Because only one of the units got flooded, right? But you had mostly moved over before the flood, if I recall correctly. Sucks so bad, though. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I'm very happy she is doing some Yes. Oh, there we go. Over my shoulder. We're back to investigating that window. What do you want, Miss Kugel? Yeah. Come over here. I don't know what she wants. The airport near Providence, Rhode Island got 38 inches of snow. That's so much snow. Especially since Providence is like on the water. It doesn't feel like it should get as much snow. I don't know. This is maybe my Pacific Northwest bias, but all right. Should we eat the second donut already? Or does anybody have anything else they want to talk about with regards to social media? The biggest thing that has made a difference for me, if you use any TikTok, any Instagram, is just take a break where you take them off your phone. And what is helpful about that is it slows things down. Even if you do want to use it on your browser on your phone, it's such a bad user interface experience that it ends up really slowing down your usage. Another option is to put your phone in grayscale. I don't do this because I mainly use my phone for taking photos, and I find it very annoying to take it in and out of grayscale. But there's a fair amount of evidence that putting in a grayscale can kind of reduce that like constant seeking behavior that a lot of people have, because you're dulling all of the things that are on your phone that are optimized to make you engage with it. I'm 2 weeks away from when we're heading to China, and that's going to end up being a very analog trip for me because we're bringing very few electronics in for reasons. So yeah. Fun fact, it's technically Warwick, Rhode Island. The Providence is, or the airport is in Warwick? Because that wouldn't really surprise me because Rhode Island's so small. I've never flown into Providence. I think every time I've gone to Providence, I've flown into Boston and then taken the train up. TikTok and Instagram and the social graph they collect and feed into the ad auction certainly needs to disrupt and poison the data leak. Yeah, that's what's really interesting to me is if you're not engaging with Facebook properties that much and you are logged out and scrubbed and those cookies are not on other websites for the social graph, you really find that your targeted ads get significantly worse. And it's very, very fascinating for me. I'm literally closer to that airport and I still go to Boston. I mean, it kind of makes sense because I'm sure it's not a very big, they probably don't fly many places out of that airport. Also the Boston airport doesn't suck. I love how close to downtown it is. It's one of my favorite parts about it. Second commercial, it says Eat, Pray, Give. Have no idea what that is about. It's probably about Ramadan. because Ramadan just started. Or Lent. Lent and Ramadan are at the same time this year. So I'm assuming that's what it's about, because eat, pray, give is a pretty good description of Ramadan. Not eat, pray, give. I love that we're just getting what you remember from the ads, and then we're trying to interpret what they are for. Do people give money during Lent? Is that part of Lent? Any of the raised Catholics? Did you just fail to jump on the table? Do you want to come here? You can come on this lap. Kugel does not like that she is not the center of attention. Hi, come here. Come on up. Come on. Yeah, come on up. You can say hi to the live stream. Say hi to everybody. You gonna say hi? No. Oh, we want out. She's not really a pick-me-up cat. Look, you can see yourself on the monitor. Did you spot yourself on the monitor yet? Okay, all right. We're leaving. We're leaving. And Lunar New Year. Well, Lunar New Year's almost done. Doesn't last as long as Ramadan and Lent. PDX is one of my favorite airports, though. PDX is the best airport. So, I mean, it's very hard to compete with PDX as an airport. I'm flying into, on this upcoming trip, I'm going to 3 airports I've never been to, which is extremely rare to go to that many airports I've never been to. I'm going to the Taipei airport, the Shenzhen airport, and the Hong Kong airport, all on this trip. So I'm looking forward to going to so many airports that I've never been to before. We're flying into Hong Kong and flying out of Shenzhen, which they're right next to each other, but obviously it's a separate administrative district. Like Hong Kong, you have to go through immigration when you go to the mainland. But you can take like regular transit from the Hong Kong airport into Shenzhen. And so, yeah, I'm very excited about that. This episode is lacking the cat exhibition and climbing display. I mean, they don't normally do that much of it. What are you doing? What? Why are you meowing? Why are you upset? I recorded a Plan With Me video right before this, and I had the door closed, and Machka could not handle that I was talking to someone without her being included. So she demanded that I open the door, and then she opened the door and she was bored. She only likes it when there's a little person in my screen. And then she wants to talk to the screen, which is really helpful for Zoom calls. It is very cute, though. Did I see that the PDX game is now on Kickstarter? No, I forgot what the PDX game is. I remember people talking about it. The PDX game, Master the Airwaves, where you compete for routes, fly planes, and build PDX of the next big hub. That does sound very fun. Yeah, that does sound fun, and I think I'd like to... That sounds like something I might want to buy. Ooh. And they're going to have a pickup event for the game at the airport. Yeah, all right. Probably going to have to do that. The Kickstarter just launched today. I will, in fact, do it. All right. Should we eat the second donut? Aaron already ordered it. I remember you telling me about it, but you didn't tell me about it, like, now. You told me about it, like, a while ago, right? Okay. Are we going to the airport for the pickup event? Is that happening? All right. Let's eat the second donut. I actually don't know if I don't think I did the donut intro last time. All right, this is the second donut. Starting next week, we're back to the 1 donut a week queue, which is nice. This is Apricot Rose. It's a regular raised donut. And then it's got apricot glaze and dried rose petals. The first one was 5 out of 5, so this is a really hard bar. Am I spending money on something I saw on social media? I don't know. Aaron told me, and Aaron's not on social media.
No, I saw it in IRC.
Aaron saw it on IRC, which is technically social media,
I don't think
but not with retargeting.
the term social media didn't exist when IRC was created.
But it is social media. Is IRC social media? Weigh in, everybody. This is very meh.
You're eating it very fast for a mad donut.
I might be very hungry. I had to get enough bites to really evaluate it correctly. I do feel like the taxes are getting. It's a chat platform, right? Yeah, Internet Relay Chat. That's what IRC stands for. It's prehistoric social media. Do we call Facebook? No, I think LiveJournal is where we switch into Common Era. So it's BCE social media, and then Common Era starts at LiveJournal.
My version.
Usenet is also prehistoric social media. What are you saying?
It's a good donut.
It's a good donut. I agree.
It is not apricot or rose.
Well, it is though.
I don't taste it.
I taste nothing of the rose.
It's a good donut.
Yeah.
It is not what it says.
Okay.
So
So what is that
3.
in a scoring? And the other donut was just so good.
Not even in comparison. It just isn't. A lot of the times they're like, this is what it says it is. And if you don't like it, too bad, because it is what it says it is. This one isn't even what it says it is.
Right up there with Clay Tabbets and cuneiform stylus writing when it comes to IRC and Usenet. Are we saying LiveJournal is the separator? I'm still on Tumblr, but the ads are so bad on Tumblr, they don't engage. They're just like ads for like gambling platforms and weird AI style fight games. And guess what? And they're not at all targeted. And what would they target me for anyway? Because my Tumblr is just like my fan obsessions. So not effective. I think I'm saying 3 out of 5. Because it's a good donut. But it's not exciting donut. I noticed that you put it away and then you've picked it back up to finish it though.
You didn't pick it up.
I think that was a 40% tax on that donut. All right, I'm saying 3 out of 5. Do you disagree? Okay. There's the donut log. I will be bringing the donut log to China because there's a lot of Chinese donuts that are vegan just accidentally. All right. Y'all, why don't you tell me what you're looking forward to this week? I hope that wasn't too much of a lecture. I really just wanted to share my experience getting back on. The thing that was most interesting to me was how poorly regulated I was almost immediately. I thought like, oh, I've developed muscles for this. But I think what actually happened is that because I had been constantly engaged with it, everything was new. So that novelty wear on it was like everything was new. I was seeing all this like posts from months ago, but they were the first time I'd seen it. And so then it was like even more of a fever pitch. And I kept having to be like, I have to delete this immediately as soon as I'm done using it. So I would post something or look up the thing I needed to look up where I needed to actually have it downloaded and I couldn't use it on desktop for whatever reason. Like if I need to repost something on stories, I have to put it on, I have to download it. So I think 3 or 4 times I downloaded Instagram. And I had to delete it within like half an hour of downloading it. So I don't know how valuable it is to hear it, because everybody's going to make their own decisions about whether or not they choose to engage with social media. And I do think that is like a real challenge. But if you are finding yourself spending money in a way where you're regretting it, or you're overanalyzing decisions, or you have like a huge hobby graveyard where you're like, oh my God, I've spent so much money on things for hobbies that I then abandon within a month, then I think that reconsidering the way that you engage with social media could make a huge difference in your finances, not to mention your own mental health. I know that right now, because the world news is so heavy and feels so consequential. I mean, it does not. I am aware that I'm saying this on the same night as the State of the Union for the U.S., and I'm sure that's not going to be a great or wonderful event for a lot of people to engage in. But I think it can be tempting to want to engage with social media as a numbing behavior. But you're often like worsening all of those symptoms that are coming from the very real, very existential crises that we are like all facing right now. And we're facing as a society, as a global society. A lot of us are facing in our own countries as we deal with like the rise of authoritarianism in many democracies around the world. And the problem is that seeking out that like numbing behavior or that kind of dopamine hit from social media, because it is corporations, all they are doing is trying to get you to spend more and more time on the platform so that you look at more ads and you engage with more ads. You have to remember that even if it might have at one point been built to serve you, it's long since stopped serving you, and it serves its corporate overlords first. And the terrible things about the world that we are all dealing with, social media, while it can be an effective tool at organizing, your neighbors and strangers around these, it exacerbates all of the symptoms that happen in a country, all of the symptoms that happen to the people of a country when they are dealing with the constant onslaught of the changing news and the stress as we watch institutions that we once relied on crumble. My friend has a social lock at 5 p.m. I think that's great. I think that's very reasonable, especially if you need to use it for work. You did a good job of sharing your experience and not saying you should, or at least I only listened to the part about what you experience and recommending. Knowing that it can happen once you re-engage is always good to know. I found it valuable. Good. I'm glad. This is not a lecture on social media, because I think it's still challenging for me. For one of the problems for me with social media was like, it is a constant comparison tool. And for me, the hardest part of it was that I was comparing, why am I not making content this good? It wasn't just about consuming stuff and like comparing my own body or my own skills or whatever. It was also me being like, why don't I have as many followers? Or why is my business not growing as fast as other people's business? And since I no longer am creating stuff tied to my livelihood on my main accounts, like I'm creating that for work, it's made it a lot easier to kind of disengage from that. But as soon as I got that hit of like, I had a post that I made that was me and me skating in it and sharing economic stuff do very, very well on someone else's feed, I felt that need to go like check it and engage with it. And I kept having to be like, oh my God, I have to completely log out of this. So, Y'all have a good night. I'm going to go organize another live for my B-Day. Have a great week, you all. Thank you. Happy birthday. Sorry, I forgot to shout out your birthday on this stream, but very excited for you. I woke up at 5 and I opened the group chat that my mom is in with family on the other coast. And it just said happy birthday like 100 times on the screen. I think it's like one of the Apple effects now that I've downloaded the new OS, but it was wild. It was everywhere. So we shouldn't ask about the next edited video. Well, the deadline is Friday. So it will be uploaded by Friday at 7 p.m. because that's our deadline for the next edited video. It should be a plan with me. I just recorded it today. It's going to be a light edit. It is not it's not a heavy lift. Let's just say that. Why I don't have as many cameras as Aaron, I know. Well, it's very nice to just have Aaron bring me cameras. I saw a camera online that I was like, oh my gosh. It wasn't even on social media, but I saw a little pink camera that I was like, I want this tiny micro 4/3 pink camera. And Aaron was like, I already have that camera. Speaking of which, we need to set up that bank account. I know. I have money in my category for it. All right, y'all. Until next week, I hope you have a lovely birthday. You have a wonderful time with the melted snow. I hope that social media brings you only good things and no negative effects. And I hope your mail gets picked up. Until next week, stay safe, stay hydrated, pet a cat if you have one available, and I will see you all soon.